A federal judge is allowing former National Security Advisor John Bolton to release his book about his time in the Trump administration. The book is called The Room Where It Happened, and in it, Bolton makes explosive claims about President Trump, depicting him as unfit for office. The Justice Department claims that the book also divulges classified information. The DOJ tried to block the release of the book earlier, but U.S. District Judge Royce Lamberth denied that move. The judge wrote, while Bolton's unilateral conduct raises grave national security concerns, the government has not established that an injunction is an appropriate remedy. We should note The Room Where It Happened is published by Simon & Schuster, a division of Viacom-CBS. CBS News correspondent Nikole Killion joins me now from the White House. Nikole, good to have you with us. What was the judge's reasoning to deny the injunction?
Well, you pretty much summarized it there. I mean, the judge more or less did fault John Bolton for, putting out this book and kind of doing it in a way that may have potentially violated some national security issues. But at the same time, the judge notes that, the book has been out there, it's been leaked, it's out of the barn, as the judge put it. And so from that standpoint, there's really no way to walk this back.
And of course, there has been a response from President Trump on Twitter. He wrote, quote, "Bolton broke the law and has been called out and rebuked for so doing, with a really big price to pay." The president goes on to say he likes dropping bombs on people and killing them. Now he will have bombs dropped on him. How is the president trying to spin this as a win, and what else are you hearing from the White House?
Well, the White House just put out a statement echoing some of that language, maybe not in as strong terms as the president, but in essence, this statement from the press secretary says that, the United States District Court vindicated the government's claims against John Bolton. And it goes on to say, pointing to the fact that the judge, rightly chastised Bolton for treating as intolerable a review process for the book that the court believed was reasonable. The White House statement also goes on to say that Bolton has gambled with the national security of the United States, citing part of that court ruling. And then the White House goes on to say that the bottom line is that Bolton bet wrong. And really, the White House argues the only reason that the judge, in essence, allowed this book to go ahead is because it was so widely disseminated. In fact, the White House says because Bolton had already ensured that the book was so widely disseminated. Therefore, in essence, that's really the only reason the judge ruled in the way that he did. Furthermore, I think it's important to point out that the White House notes that the government does intend to hold Bolton, as it says, to further requirements of his agreement and to ensure that he receives no profits from his book.
Is that what the president means by the statement? Because I'm having a little bit of trouble, honestly, Nikole, understanding what President Trump means when he writes, now he will have bombs dropped on him. Is that an indication that the administration is going to continue to go after him, not just for those profits, but also potentially criminal proceedings, or has that ship sailed?
Well, certainly we can never know exactly what the president means by some of his tweets, and certainly we will reach out to the White House to get clarity. But certainly it does seem to suggest that perhaps the White House could take further action against Bolton. And again, by this statement that the press secretary put out, it does make clear that it does intend to hold Bolton to the requirements of his agreement.
All right, Nikole, why don't you help all of us remember some of the key takeaways from John Bolton's book and what the White House is really so upset about?
Yeah, well, this was a book of some 600 pages, and in essence, it, paints this scathing portrayal and depiction of a president who really doesn't seem to know what he's doing when it comes to foreign policy, whether it is an excerpt where Bolton says that the president asked if Finland was part of Russia, or that he may not have known that the United Kingdom was a nuclear power. Some of this was just simply more or less, it seems, to embarrass the president. And obviously, the one main takeaway that a lot of news outlets have cited in particular is what appeared to be this kind of transactional exchange with regard to China. Obviously, we have the Ukraine investigation and what happened with the Mueller probe, but this book does detail an instance where the president appears to be asking China's president for help with the election, encouraging China to buy, farm products because it would help him in his re-election bid. So again, certainly a lot of damning allegations. We know the White House and the president have certainly pushed back pretty forcefully against this book. The president even calling John Bolton a wacko, and certainly the White House certainly not letting this stand. We've also seen a number of other administrations, whether it be the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who has called Bolton a traitor, and other top officials certainly pushing back against Bolton's depictions.
Well, we know, Nikole, that the White House is infuriated. So are so many congressional Democrats. It felt like Bolton was trying to profit off of his book rather than coming and testifying before them during the impeachment inquiry. I'm wondering if you've heard any reaction from the Bolton team recently.
Well, they did respond to the judge's ruling today, in essence saying that they welcome this decision by the court, in essence denying the government's attempt to suppress the ambassador's book. So, again, you kind of see both sides spinning it different ways. Of course, Bolton's team welcoming this decision, the president's team welcoming the decision, too. So, certainly, both sides are kind of cherry picking the things that they feel supports their case. We'll note that Bolton's lawyers do take issue, though, with the judge's characterization of some of this, pointing out that Ambassador Bolton, or we respectfully take issue with the court's preliminary conclusion that Ambassador Bolton did not comply fully with his contractual obligations. So that is one area where Bolton's lawyers were a little troubled by the ruling that came down today.
All right, Nikole Killion for us there at the White House. Thank you.